Commission. This meeting is being conducted electronically and will be broadcast live on CTN Cable Channel 16 and online at a2gov.org/watchctn. To speak at public comment, call toll-free 877-853-5247 or another of the published numbers in the agenda and enter meeting ID 959-7872-3467. Josh, will you please call the roll?
Yep. Commissioner Bush, Commissioner Cavateo, Commissioner Kraut,
Present in Ypsilanti.
Commissioner Marson,
Here in Ann Arbor.
Commissioner O'Connell, Commissioner Montague,
Here in Ann Arbor.
Commissioner Perlowski,
Here in Ann Arbor.
Commissioner Skyless,
Here in Ann Arbor.
Commissioner Smith, Councilmember Redina,
Here in Ann Arbor.
Councilmember Watson.
Here in Ann Arbor.
You have a quorum.
Thank you. You have the agenda in front of you. Are there any requested changes to it? Hearing none, the agenda is approved, and we're at the first public commentary. Follow the instructions to raise your hand and indicate that you would like to speak. We allow 3 minutes per speaker. We do not respond in the moment to speakers, but we appreciate you taking the time to call and share your thoughts with us. Do we have any callers?
It appears we do. Sam Horton, 1 moment, please.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Hi, my name is Sam Homan. I live on Kohler Road. I wanted to call and ask you guys to consider something for Woodbury Park by me. Specifically, I was wondering if you would investigate trying to obtain an easement for Woodbury Park to connect to Harp Street immediately south of it. It's kind of a weird discontinuity within the neighborhood that there's no pedestrian path between Woodbury Gardens and Harps to the immediate south. And it would just really nicely tie everything together, especially with the sidewalk that's been put in on Page Avenue recently. In particular, there is a vacant lot on Harps that abuts the park that, if could be acquired, would be an absolutely fantastic addition to the area.
All right. Thank you.
That's it.
Appreciate your call. Thanks.
Yep.
Any other callers?
We do have a caller calling in on the phone. I believe you hit *9 to raise your hand if you'd like to speak for public commentary. Not appear that we have any additional public commentary.
All right. Thank you. Next up, we have approval of the minutes. They're in your packet. Any changes to those minutes or corrections or a motion to approve them? Tisha, motion to approve. Thank you. A second? Therese, thank you very much. All in favor, or any further discussion on the minutes? Seeing none, all in favor of the minutes to approve, all in favor of approving the minutes, please raise your hand or say aye. Any opposed? All right, the minutes are approved. Thank you very much. Okay, we have no presentations today, so that brings us to our manager's report, and Josh is going to present that. Thanks.
That's great. We're beginning that transition between winter and spring and summer. So a variety of changes coming about. The first is the temporary pop-up dog park at Vets Park will be closing as scheduled on April 20th. There's been a lot of positive feedback and good response to it. We will be reviewing the feedback and data and presenting to PAC in May or June as originally promised on that. But again, we will be closing down April 20th as was always scheduled. We will be potentially looking at a summer pop-up event. We are working on the details of that, and we'll present that out more here in at a future meeting. Again, with transitions, the weather seems to be improving, depending on the day. But park staff are working really hard to get the facilities and parks ready for the busy season. The golf courses were fortunate enough to open this past weekend. The deliveries are scheduled to open April 26th. The first pool Fuller will be opening in mid-May, followed by Buer and Vets Memorial Day weekend. Lots of hiring, lots of planning going on, lots of cleaning. So we will be moving forward on that relatively soon. So hopefully we'll get good weather with clean and maintained parks. Speaking of events, Huron River Day is returning to Gallup this May 18th from noon to 4 p.m. It's a really fun event. With the bridge being open, we can have it back there. So please stop by. Lots of nonprofit groups, performances, fun for the games, and we're also looking for volunteers. And then just on the other side, while things are building up, the demolition on the Vets Shelter and the Farmers Market office, both of those will begin in the next 10 days or so. So there will be some changes to our parks coming along as those need to come down for safety reasons. So that's all that I have.
And any questions for Josh? All right. For committee reports, Hannah's not here, so nothing from RAC. I attended the Environmental Commission meeting last month. We discussed including some more language about natural feature preservation in the comprehensive plan that's being developed at the moment by the city. And we talked about combining the environmental and energy commissions into a single sustainability commission, which is something I guess City Council is kind of interested in doing, and recommendations for that. So that's it for the Environmental Commission, and I think that's all we have for committees. So now on to regular business. And our first item is a resolution recommending approval of fiscal year 2026-27 fee adjustments for parks and recreation services. So we've got a lot of materials in our packet, and Josh is going to present a little more information about that for us.
Can everyone see my screen?
Yes, we can.
So thank you very much. I am going to go through a quick presentation that's going to talk about the budget process, kind of what was sent out. And then as we move forward, we'll be able to speak a little bit about the resolutions, the data, the information that was provided with you. So this is the summary of the work that was done by staff to prepare for the FY 26 and 27 budget. All right. Just in regards to the budget timeline, this year is a 2-year budget cycle. So staff had to look at both FY 26 and 27 during this process. Per charter, City Council can only approve 1 year at a time. So the focus is to prepare for FY 26, which will be approved, and then planning for FY 27. So it makes that second year a little bit easier, a little bit more focused, and we can adjust based on that. So next year we'll be back again. Back in October, we learned that there is going to be no required cuts or changes to the general fund budget, which means that we really got to look at our budget and continue to try to right size and identify where there was opportunities to improve based on trends, decrease based on trends, look at fees and comparables. And that's what staff did really between November and December, and then provided recommendations and thoughts on those potential impacts to me. In January, and we provided that information to the city administrator. over January, February, March, and early into April, into March. The city administrator evaluated all the budgets and the ideas associated with it and informed us which ones he was willing to accept into his budget. And so then we worked really hard to get all of the data together and prepared to be able to bring it to PAC for their review. And so coming today, we're looking to get PAC's recommendation on the fees and the impacts associated with the budgets for FY26 and have an idea of what FY27 will come to. City Council will take actions on fees and the proposed budget in the second meeting in May, although they'll start receiving some information in, I believe, next week as well. Just to take a quick look at the parks expenditure budget. For FY26, the proposed budget is $8.9 million from the millage. That is what we are anticipating getting in from the millage. And from the general fund, expenditure budget of 12.4 for an overall total budget for Parks Department of $21.3 million. This percentage between millage and general fund almost always stays around this amount. It's this kind of 42, 43 to 58, 57. There's not a requirement on that. But it does continue to keep our general fund is about 60%, and the millage is about 40%. So taking a look at the general fund, and so this is funds, this is where we receive registration payments, daily admissions, that's the revenue that's associated with that, as well as a series of operational costs with that. Our FY25 budget that was approved was $5.4 million, and the expenses were $11.2 million, with a negative net of 5.7. Again, the Parks Department provides an awful lot of service to the community and an awful lot of ways for us to utilize people to recreate, enjoy the facilities, the parks, and many of those can never come with a fee. So there's always an expectation that there's going to be some cost to the general fund with it, but we do all that we can to continue to get better with that. For FY26, when we evaluated our trends, we evaluated potential fee increases. We believe that we could increase revenue to $6.1 million, and expenses would going to grow towards 12.4. And then FY27, the plan would be for a continued increase about 6.2 for revenue and 12.9 for expenses. With some of the impacts that are mentioned, these are things that go above the normal operating expenses. So, salaries, the cost of doing business this year is going to go up next year because of salary increases, because of benefit costs. There's things that are outside of our control. So when we talk about impacts and changes, those are really things that go beyond the normal, the expected increases due to things that are outside of the park's control. So those are what we're going to be talking about here in just a second. So from a revenue standpoint, there were 7 buckets that we identified opportunities for revenue changes with. The good news is that we have seen continued growth in a lot of our program areas since the pandemic. And so while there are some fee increases associated with this, we were able to identify about $475,000 of revenue increases that staff are confident that we can meet in the upcoming year. I'll go through each of these little buckets here in a second. But one of the things when we look at doing fee increases, it is really tied to how do we give back to the Parks Department. So if we're increasing fees, it's not just to make more money. It is to really try to provide more resources for our parks, for our community, and for our facilities. So with the ice rinks, the pandemic was very hard on the ice rinks. It was difficult to be inside. It was difficult to skate with masks. But we did a really good job of keeping people safe and giving them opportunities. And coming out of the pandemics, we have seen continued growth in our skating instructions, our rink rentals, and our general skate. All of those this year saw very good numbers. Part of that is that there's changes at some of the other ice rinks in town. So there is actually a competitive league of ours that left shortly after in 2021 that have now come back to us. So that is that is an exciting thing to see, that people are coming back to us because they realize the work that we're doing, the operations that we have are very positive. With all of these increases, this is all based on trend expenses or trends of participation. And we believe that, I shouldn't say all of it, there's a small percentage, about $68,000 of fee increases or of revenue increases, with a small increase to the drop-in hockey fees. Our goal was to get all of our drop-in hockey fees the same amount, and those fees have not necessarily been touched in some of those areas for a couple of years. Next up are the pools. A few years ago, we made a change to the swim team structure. Going to a one citywide team. We have seen good response to that, especially with the indoor teams, where we've seen significant growth and success with that one. We've also seen growth in our swim lessons, both private and instructional and group lessons, continued quality instructors, and consistent formatting helps with that. We do anticipate, it's been about 5 years since we did a fee increase to pool admissions. We are planning to, and we are proposing a small fee increase to the admissions for both adults, youths, and seniors. However, we are planning to keep our punch pass the same in the next couple of years as it is today. So there'll still be a discounted rate for families that are looking to buy a little bit more in bulk. The revenue from these impacts is about $64,000. The senior center, this is entirely driven by us doing more programming and more people looking to rent the senior center. Brittany and our team over there have tried to find more ways to get people into the building, both for senior programming as well as renting the space. It's a hidden little gym in our parks department. It's not a lot of revenue, but for the senior center, increasing by about $5,200 is a big step in the right direction. Our day camps, this is one of our prize programs during the summer. Both Burr and Fuller have increased their capacity over the last couple years. I believe that this year Fuller is looking to get up to 90 kids per week, and Burr is looking at 60 kids per week. We are in the process, so that is full, and then the liveries and river camps really don't have space to increase their capacity. Between vans and transportation, as well as putting a number of kids out on the river, they're really challenged to find a space for that. It will be 5 years in 2026 since our last fee increase with camp. We provide 45 hours of care at our pool camps, which equate to, in the new fee, about $5.50 per hour of care. It's still a really great deal as we've compared them to other camps, some of which aren't state licensed like us. We still remain a relatively good bargain there. We are, as I shared with the financial group, we were about a month and a half from having our new scholarship program to present to PAC. And then we had some staffing changes, structure, things that we needed to deal with. So we anticipate that coming back to PAC in fall of 2025. Our goal is to make sure that everyone who wants to participate in our programs can, knowing that there's a high demand and a low number of spots. We want to do it better. We want to continue to make it easier for families to apply, register, and get get into our programs. In 2024, we did about $15,000 of program scholarships, primarily tied to our day camp program. And with that, in addition to the programming, all of those scholarship families receive a summer pool pass that allow people to come into our pools and utilize them during the summer. So it is a okay program that we anticipate being better here in the coming, in the next, before these fees would go into effect. One other thing that's really neat, our Fuller Day Camp provides swim lessons, and in 26, our Bure Day Camp will as well. So that's an added feature for those kids that is important to make sure that they have that life skill and are safe around the pool when they're at our camp. Probably the most significant growth with revenue is tied to the golf courses. I don't know that there's a recreational industry that has done as well post-pandemic as the golf courses. They are in high demand. People are getting out and utilizing our courses. And our Leslie and Huron Hills are both in that we expect to see continued full tee sheets. With Huron Hills being open completely all year, we anticipate a growth with that. And with a high demand and a high demand for programs, it's also an opportunity to ensure that our fees are appropriate. Leslie is one of the premier courses in Southeast Michigan, and it is still a very good deal, even with potential increases. And Huron Hills is a great opportunity, a great course for everyone, from beginners to people who just want to get out and golf. So we are also looking at increasing the pass holders. I'll give some details. I'm sure there's some questions about that. I'll give some statistics about that here in a second. Park rentals, again, people are coming together more. Even this past year, without our 2 Gallup shelters, we saw significant usage increases. We expect bringing Gallup back online now that the bridge is open, that there'll be a continued growth, more people utilizing those. So that's part of it. The fee increase that we are talking about is just for the fees that we charge third-party renters through Rec and Ed for their baseball field rentals. Our agreement with Rec and Ed has had a fee, had a small fee since 2009, which is basically $21 for a resident for a 2-hour block of renting a baseball field. And so there's just going to be we're suggesting a minor increase, just as cost and have gone up to maintain them, to organize them. All of this would go into effect in 2026 after our agreement with them gets hopefully renewed. One part of our recreational world that has been relatively flat over the last number of years has been the liveries. We have seen the pandemic, people got out and got their own tubes, got their own kayaks, got their own water devices, and really have begun to utilize those. We still are very successful because of the work that we do and the experience that we can provide. But it has remained relatively flat over most of the rental groups. The one exception is in tube rentals. And the reality is that, we really like when people rent the tubes from us because we get to have the conversations with them. It is an opportunity to talk to them about the rules, to talk to them about the expectations, to get them better prepared for what the experience is. And it reminds them, and I'm sure half of these tubes are ours and half of these tubes aren't ours in this picture. But it is one that I think has really provided us with a service for the community. And anytime we can get people going through the liveries line, it is a good thing for the experience on the river. So again, those are a series of the revenue impacts. And that is all matched by expenses tied to the general fund as well. So while we looked at an increase of about $475,000 of revenue, our expenses are right around there as well. And this is above and beyond the normal increases that come through each year's increase. So these are things that are impacting on another side. Oops, sorry. One of the biggest impacts, and this is a non-recurring cost, which means that it is a one-time cost. We have a lot of vehicles that we pay into the fleet fund for, so mowers, trucks, livery vans, Zambonis, all of these different vehicles that we utilize to maintain, to transport our people and residents in our parks. We pay a fund. We pay into the fleet fund. Many of these were bought 7-8 years ago when vehicles were a lot cheaper. So what we paid into the fleet fund was a little bit less. And so the cost of the replacement has exceeded what we paid into it. So that's this balance. It also, with these transitions, we are also moving to greener vehicles as much as possible, and working closely with OSI to ensure that the decisions we make meet the Green Fleet Fund initiative. So those two things add to an additional cost, and that's about $166,000 beyond what we had paid into the fleet fund for. It's really difficult to increase participation, to increase usage, and not have matching supply costs and expense costs. In addition to just seeing greater usage because we have more people in our facilities and in our spaces, things like pool chemicals, day camp supplies, uniforms, everything is just a little bit more expensive. And so it's nice to have the matching funds associated with that. And again, with an increase, we've also been able to grow some of our budgets to be more appropriate for the experience that we're looking to give. Staffing, and this is always one of my favorite things to say we want to spend more money on. We're extremely fortunate both at the full-time staffing level, but also at the temp the temp staffing level, where we hire 450 temp staffs in a given year. We have seen the need to be more consistent for safety, how we operate. We need to make sure we have 2 people with our day camps. We need to do these 2 people in facilities. We need to ensure that we are providing the right environment for staff and residents and users in our facilities. So there's more people that we're needing to hire. The other thing that we're seeing is that because we increased our starting pay to living wage a couple years ago, we're seeing more staff staying around. And as they stay around, their average wage goes up. And so it is a good thing. Probably the last 2 or 3 years are the first time in my 10 years that I haven't heard concerns about staffing levels, because we're able to get so many staff applicants in, and we really are a first choice for a lot of individuals looking for work in the summer and year round. I follow one of my favorite things to spend money on with one of my least favorites. More people are using credit cards, more people are using cash items. And with that, there are fees associated with utilizing those. So we constantly try to do good work to reduce those down. But the more people that sign up online, the more people that utilize a credit card, which allows us to do other things, but we do have to pay those fees. The millage is always a little bit different in how we look at it. For FY25, we had an expenditure budget of $8.3 million, and we were anticipating getting a just over $8 million in. Those numbers are brought based on the anticipated property taxes and what we expect getting in. There are typically a few fees that we anticipate being above that. But as we break it down and we move it through the years, we end up being much more closer to the actual expenses than or actual revenue amount that we have coming in. So there's always a slight budgetary difference, but we end up right on that line or under it. The biggest change, the only real impact for FY26. So we have vehicles that we can pay for out of the general fund. We have vehicles that we can pay out of the millage. Mowers cannot be paid out of the millage, so those are general fund ones. Things that can be paid out of the millage, we pay out of the millage. And so again, these one-time costs to replace vehicles that are coming due in FY26 is what this fee is for. That's what I just said. I spent the vast majority of what we talked about was on FY26. I want to speak a little bit about FY27 because this is a 2-year. We anticipate if fee increases, I ask staff to start them at the beginning of a new season. So whether it's a golf, whether it's camp, whether it's pool, anything, we don't change in the middle of the season because we don't want somebody going to the pool on June 30th and paying one price and go on July 1st paying another. So if fees go into effect, they will take a full year to fully be seen. And so FY27 sees a little bit more anticipated growth. All of our recurring expenses and impacts would remain the same. And then we do have a number of fleet charges in FY27 that will potentially be coming about as well. But the major impact that we proposed and at this point are seeing positive support for are 2 new FTEs. One would be a recreation coordinator. We've hired this type of position recently to support deliveries as well as the adoptive park coordinator. This would be another one of those positions that would really support recreation operations and provide us with a little bit of depth and support throughout FY27 and beyond. And then there's also a planning coordinator to support the anticipated increase in projects. We know that we have a lot of projects coming from the ADA report. We are also working through the capital asset study, which are identifying more projects. And so we are trying to find ways to support our park planners, Adam and Hillary, who already have a lot of work to do. And this will give them a little bit of support for that. So with that, that is my long-winded presentation that hopefully provided a little bit of details with supporting the documents that were sent. So
Thank you so much, Josh. We'll open the floor now to questions about, and I'll open it up to questions about the budget as a whole and the fees specifically. So any questions for Josh? I can kick things off. I had a question about the fleet fund. Is that something that we pay into annually and it's been determined that we needed to do a catch up, or is it that the amount we pay in is like intermittent, or how does that work?
So I mean, every time that we purchase a vehicle, fleet pays for it, and we pay a monthly car payment. We'll utilize it that way, so that when the end of life comes for that fleet, we have money to pay for the next vehicle. The problem is, again, when we bought a truck for $50,000 in 2019. The truck is now $75,000 because it's more expensive, and we're going to an electric or hybrid or that type of thing. So there's an increase. The vehicle costs more that we're replacing with, and so that's that balance in between there. And so that's where this catch up is trying to get. So when we buy the new one at $75,000, or we have anticipated being at $80,000, we would then pay that car payment for that lifetime and then move it along that way.
I see. So some vehicles were purchased maybe last year or the year before, whatever, and now we need to make up the difference between what was in the fund and what the cost of the vehicles were.
Yep. And
Okay.
more like they were bought in 2017, 2016. We do our best to we want to find that perfect line of utilizing a vehicle for as long as we can and replace it right before it breaks down.
Mhm.
We don't want to replace it too early because then we're leaving, we're spending too quickly. If we wait too long, then we have to rush to get a replacement, because if we don't replace a mower right now, then the mowing season comes along and we're behind in mowing because we can't quickly get a giant mower to replace the one we have.
Got it. Thank you. Therese, please go ahead.
Sure. No question, but I just wanted to just a note of appreciation, Josh, for you and your team. I really appreciate all the documentation and how thoughtful, all the research around fee increases and how that impacts families are. It's just really helpful to be able to see all that research, and it's really obvious that you put a lot of thought into it. So appreciate all the time that took, and look forward to hearing more about the new scholarship program.
Thank you. And I will add, I kind of put it together in the narrative, two things with that. I've talked about it over the last year and a half, 2 years. I mean, we want to continue to try to push fee increase. We want to choice programs. We want to see increase that cost. There's a focus on that, and so that we can provide our service programs for more affordable rates. Our swim lesson program is near and dear. We want to ensure that life skill is had. So how do we keep that as affordable as possible? We're not there yet. The scholarship program is going to help some of that, but that's there. The other thing that you may see this year is the fact that we've tried to increase the variance between resident and non-resident rates. When we have the ability to easily charge those to a resident or non-resident, staff feel it important that we focus on giving the residents a better discount, or a better price compared to the non-resident. So we'll continue to work to do that moving forward. So.
Great. Alexa, you're next.
Great. Let me get myself unmuted here. I agree. Thanks, Josh, for all the work that's gone into this, and appreciate also that you guys did kind of a next year budget and a look ahead. One quick comment and then a question. I agree on the opportunity of especially the summer camp and the way that you guys are thinking about scholarships and access. I would also say I'm really appreciative that the sign up is actually in April. There's a ton of camps that fill up super early, like as early as January. And I think it is really great access for the city to have an option for parents that runs later into the year. So highly supportive of both the timing and the way you guys are being very thoughtful about sort of the cost of it, how to keep it accessible, and what other benefits might come with it. Question on the credit card fees. Is it possible through the software we have to offer the option for people to pay fees at the point of sale? Like if you're registering for class, could you like check a box and be like, no big deal, I'll pay it. I just wonder if there's some people who might be willing to eat the cost if they can afford it. The second is I feel guilty because I charge $1 skates most weeks at Vets for my daughter for her skating class, and would happily like pre-buy my skates in a package and reduce the number of swipes. But just wondering if there's some ways that we could like defray or get help on some of those fees that again are something we have to do but aren't like value added to the great work that's going on with the team.
100%. I have to look further into our software. I think it's one that's there. it's as we continue to evaluate that fee, what it becomes, we continue to work with our treasury department, our staff to determine what the best rates are. How do we do that? It is one thing to think about it. And yes, to the point, I think we've talked a little bit with staff about bundling things like the skates. So can we do a 10 pack that you do it? And some of it's just as we continue to evolve the programs and look at what things differently and simplify it. And ensuring that we don't that we find the right way to incentivize the appropriate use. Can we have a $10? Can we add the $10 on to the initial registration fee? There's things that we can do so that it is a one charge versus 11 charges. So,
Ruth, you're next.
Thank you. So yes, I'll echo what everybody else said. Don't want to repeat it. But I do want to say that I feel like the last time increases came, they had not been reviewed for quite a while, and it was like a giant shock and really big increases. And I think this is much better because I look at these and I'm not gasping, and I don't feel like I'll have to defend them. And in fact, random conversation the other day with someone who recently moved to town who had looked at the pool costs and was like, these are really reasonable. I think she had recently lived in Columbus, Cleveland, and Ithaca, New York, and thought that they were, so that's obviously just one person and it's not official comps, but so yeah, I really appreciate that. And I'm really I think people know next month will be my last meeting because I'm timing out, but I'm really glad to see that you're working on scholarship stuff.
no, I appreciate that, and I agree. I mean, I think being my fourth budget cycle, you're continuing to try to catch up. You're continuing to try to get the things right. We're better than where we were 4 years ago. We put things in the right place, and what I want to do is moving forward. So we'll continue to take those steps, and there's some really neat things that we're trying to do with the scholarships, and I believe that ensuring that people have access to water safely and understanding how to swim, as well as participating in our programs, are key things. It's never going to be perfect, but we need to be better and be more intentional with it. So thank you.
All right. Rachel, go ahead.
Thank you. First of all, thank you for the budget narrative. I love the budget narrative. It was so good. I do have a question. It's on the document on parks fee increases proposal, and it is the 3 pages with these really great charts. And in the middle, there's a column labeled percent increase.
Okay.
And I read that assuming that the first percent is resident and the second percent is non-resident, but am I right about that? That's my first question.
Let me get to it. I'm getting to this. I had lots of things open, and that wasn't one.
I know. Well,
So-
that's always how it goes. Whatever I pick is the thing you're not going to have open.
Yeah. And I liked having the goat up while we were talking about it because it makes us all smile. So, all right. So the comparable,
Park fee increases proposal document.
okay. So
Percent increase column.
percent increase column. Yep.
Is that resident / non-resident?
So it is the percentage between 2025 and 2026, the change there.
Oh, okay.
So
I'm really glad I asked. Now that I have that information, I do not have a second question.
All right. Tisha, you're up.
Okay, just piggybacking on saying kudos to you all for the scholarships for the camp for accessibility and things like that. But I wanted to know, do we have with spaces filling up so rapidly, do you have earmarked maybe five spots for Fuller or 5 spots for Beer Park allocated for those scholarship recipients already? That's my first question.
Yeah, and yes and no. I mean, we have done it. We've done a certain percentage. That as we move forward, we'll be better about it. And intentional and trying to get to those families earlier. I think that we try to work closely with the process, with our repeat customers, with individuals. We have in the past, and I don't know if we did this year. We have some flexibility with state licensing, what our number is. And so I think that we are always willing to work with families on as they come about. In some cases, we've tried that, and we ended up with nobody applying for certain ones. So we try to find that balance with it. But staff at Fuller and Bureau, especially where we have more of our scholarship families participating, they do a good job of ensuring that they're working with families and having those spaces available.
Awesome, thank you. And then my second question was, I think that I saw, let me see, I took a note. We have the Youth on Course, kind of like special rates where we work through with the Golf Association of Michigan. Do you have like other corporate rates or rates that you have available? Because I serve on like numerous organizations and we have different rates for like Office Max and different things. Do you have like corporate rates that you all offer currently?
Not necessarily for programming. For rentals, we have some certain groups. So when you go out and rent a shelter, that's been put into play. You know, we have some ability. One of the things that our fee structure does and what the way that it works is these are the most that any of our, when we put a fee to council and they approve it, that's the highest fee that we can charge. So we'll say for a golf group, we'll say for golf, there's a group of 20 people that want to come in. We can work with that to provide a consistent discount of a group of 20 people, whether it's from Office Max, whether it's from the local neighborhood association, that's a consistent discount we can give on that. We don't always provide a discount rate on everything because there's a lot of fees already, and we're trying to find the right side. So short answer, when it's appropriate, we have some, but it's not that common. And sometimes we utilize punch passes for pool entries or drop-in skating or general skate. Sorry, I had to think of what my last one was, where we can utilize that as well.
Okay, thank you. That's it.
Right. Any further questions about fees or budget? We have a resolution to recommend approval of the fiscal year 2026-27 fee adjustments for Parks and Recreation Services. Do I have a motion to approve that resolution? Rachel, thank you. A second?
I'll second.
Therese, thank you. Any further discussion about the fees specifically? All right. All in favor of the resolution, please raise your hand or say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, the motion carries unanimously. And then we have a second resolution, a resolution on the fiscal year 2026 proposed budget and fiscal year 2027 budget plan for Parks and Recreation Services. Do I have a motion to approve that resolution? Tisha, I see you. Thank you. Do I have a second? Alexa is seconded. Any further discussion about the budget for 2026 or the plan for 27? All in favor of the resolution, please raise your hand or say aye. Any opposed? All right, the resolution carries unanimously. Thank you very much. Yeah, that's like a huge process, so it's always good to get that one under our belts. So thank you so much, Josh.
Thank you for your support.
All right, our next order of business is election of officers. And I just want to preface this all by saying, despite having ample time to consider officers, I dropped the ball a little bit. Well, I just dropped that ball. It's kind of a binary thing, isn't it? Rachel, unfortunately, is not going to be able to carry on as our vice chair this coming year. So right now, I am very happy if anyone wants to nominate me to carry on with the chair position. But we're sort of still casting about to see what we can do about vice chair. If anybody is particularly interested in the position, definitely get in touch. But for elections today, I believe we are only going to be voting on the chair position.
I'd be happy to nominate you, Anne, to be chair.
Thank you. Thank you,
And
Ruth.
I will
Hear
take
that.
myself out of the running for vice chair as I am stepping off the board.
That's right. Thank you. Yes. So we have a nomination. I don't know if we need a second for that or. Thank you, Tisha. All right. So all in favor of me as chair, please raise your hand or say aye. Thank you. Any opposed? No. Thank you very much. So yeah, like I said, if you're interested in the vice chair position, please reach out to Josh or myself and let me know. Otherwise, I will be reaching out to you. All right. Thank you very much. Okay, I've got a cat here on the agenda. Okay, we have a land acquisition matter today to discuss. And so for that, we need to go into closed session. And this time around, it's been a couple of months since we last did this, but this time around I'm prepared with what the rules are for doing this. So what we need is a roll call vote with 2/3 approval to go into closed session. So do we have a motion for PAC to meet in closed session under Section 8D of the Open Meetings Act to discuss the purchase of real property? So I'm just looking for a motion to go into closed session here. Thank you, Rachel. And do we have a second? Thank you, Therese. And now we need to do an actual roll call vote for this.
Commissioner Bush,
Yes.
Commissioner Kraut,
Yes.
Commissioner Marson,
Yes.
Commissioner Montague,
Yes.
Commissioner Perlowski,
Yes.
Commissioner Skylas.
Yes.
You.
All right. And I'm trying to remember if I've even seen the link go by.
It
Yes,
should have
Julia.
come out late around, should have been. Yeah. It'd come to you right now.
Okay. So we'll leave this meeting and click on the link for the closed session meeting. See you there, everybody. And do we have a motion to go back into open session? Thank you, Therese. Seconded by Tisha. Okay, and then we're going to do a roll call vote to go back into open session.
Commissioner Bush,
Yes.
Commissioner Kraut,
Yes.
Commissioner Marson,
Yes.
Commissioner Montague,
Yes.
Commissioner Pawlowski,
Yes.
Commissioner Skylas.
Yes.
We're back in open session.
Thank you. And do we have a motion regarding the land acquisition?
We do. I'm gonna move that we recommend purchase of fee title to the property identified in application ID 2024-08 and appropriate funds not to exceed $124,000.
Thank you, Ruth. Do we have a second? Thank you, Commissioner Bush. Any further discussion about this? All in favor of the motion, please raise your hand or say aye. Any opposed? One opposed? All right, the motion carries. All right, thank you, everyone. That brings us now to second public commentary period. Follow the instructions to raise your hand and indicate that you would like to speak. We allow 3 minutes per speaker. We do not respond in the moment to speakers, but we appreciate you taking the time to call in and share your thoughts with us. Do we have any callers?
No callers for public commentary.
Thank you very much. You have communications that are in your packet, and please take a moment to look those over when you have the opportunity. And that concludes our agenda, so we are adjourned. Thank you, everybody. And again, if get in touch with me if you're interested in leadership. Thanks.